Welcome to our webinar. I am Philip Levinson, Head of Marketing at Mobileforce. Before we jump in, I want to acknowledge there is a chat icebreaker on the screen. This is all going to be about HubSpot and AI, so feel free to answer that question. We are talking about getting started with HubSpot and AI. And before we jump into the webinar, I want to acknowledge this is the first event that we've done for our HubSpot User Group, which is all about AI and automation in sales and marketing. And at Mobileforce, we're thrilled to be co-organizing that hug alongside Evenbound. And we've got my colleague and co-organizer of this hug, we've got Colby Hansen. Will you want to say hello and introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Colby Hansen. I'm the marketing manager at Evenbound. Super excited to host this first hug with Phil. Hopefully many more to come in the future. Like I said in the chat, I'll be manning the chat and the Q&A, so drop any questions in there and I'll keep an eye out for them.
Absolutely. Colby, it's been a delight working with you and Evenbound to help kick things off with the user group and with our first event here. So what is the first event? And as Colby mentioned, this will be interactive. So drop any questions in the Q&A section and we will get to those toward the end. This is about getting started with HubSpot and AI, building automated workflows and using AI tools made easy. So we're going to go over some fundamentals and we're excited to do that. In addition to Evenbound and Mobileforce, we also are thrilled to have HubSpot here. And let's go ahead and introduce our expert panelists. Somebody that I've been delighted to work with at HubSpot, Charlie Vleetstra. Welcome.
Thanks, Phil. Hey, everyone.
And from Evenbound, we've got the AI superstar there, also an expert on HubSpot. We've got Darren Howerton. Hey, Darren.
Hey, Phil. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. And someone I'm thrilled to work with on a regular basis at Mobileforce, the CEO and co-founder of Mobileforce, Jagadish Bandole. Hey, Jagadish.
Hey, everyone. Great to be here. Look forward.
Absolutely. Let's jump right in. We have a very simple agenda. After I'm done introducing things, we will hand things over to Charlie, who will talk about HubSpot's AI tools. Then Darren from Evenbound will actually do some live demo of some key AI tools in both marketing and sales. Then Jagadish will talk about extending AI and automation to sales, and then we'll have our Q&A. So like Colby said earlier, just drop your questions in that Q&A section and we'll try to get to those. Before we jump in and hand things to Charlie, let's set the stage. Let's provide some context here. Why is we've heard a lot about AI. We've heard a lot about why it's important, but in working with HubSpot, it's critically important. And to set the stage on why, I want to go back to what Dharmesh said when he first introduced HubSpot's ventures in AI and when he first introduced ChatSpot. He said this, and I think this is quite powerful. AI is what we are all obsessed with. With the power of generative AI, we've seen that AI can do a lot of the tedious work and can be incredibly disruptive. It is already transforming marketing and sales. Now, he said that a year ago. It is even more aggressively transforming marketing and sales today. And we're going to walk through how and why. Then earlier this year, when Yum in one of her 2024 kickoff presentations said, here's 4 ways that HubSpot is incorporating AI into: first, AI agents; second, ChatSpot in-app; third, AI-powered guided selling; and 4, driving repeat usage and education. This really provides a nice underpinning for what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to see some examples of the vision that Dharmesh articulated and the goals that Yamini have articulated in this discussion. So let's just keep things moving. And that's a perfect segue over to Charlie at HubSpot. Charlie, how about an overview of what HubSpot's tools are doing today?
Sounds good. Thank you, Phil. Hey, everyone. My name is Charlie Vleetstra. I am a partner development manager at HubSpot. And what that means is I work with our partner community, a number of partners, and have had the privilege of working with both Evenbound and Mobileforce over the years. So I'm grateful to be here and looking forward to bringing you guys up to speed on all of these products, which we know are constantly changing. There's new products being released, and so hopefully you walk away with some continued knowledge here. All right, so we're going to start with some stats, of course. The first is 95% of professionals using AI say that it helps them spend less time on manual tasks. I'm not sure who the 5% are who say that it doesn't, but I'd love to interview them and understand why that is. But the point here is that AI tools can help drive efficiency for your business, which we understand, especially with the small and mid-sized market, how important that is as resources are strapped. And then the second stat here is 68% of business leaders say it can help their companies scale in a way that would be impossible without it. So, some people feel that these tools are gimmicky, and to be fair, there are some gimmicky AI tools out there. There's also a right way to use AI tools, and then there's, the wrong way. So, but with this sample of business leaders, 68% of them have taken the time to understand what these tools are, like what's out there, and they have a strategic approach to leveraging these tools. So, and as a result, it's been transformative to their business. So I just want to say, kudos to everyone for being here today. This space is constantly changing. So continued education is really a requirement in order to continue to see the success with these tools and for your business. Just real quick here, HubSpot's point of view on AI is that the future is more small companies and not fewer big businesses. Dharmesh actually recently had a post on this on LinkedIn, and he goes into greater detail. I'd recommend checking that out. But the right tools and the right systems are leveling the playing field. So we believe that there will be successful SMBs in the future, and we're actively building tools and systems to make that happen. I also just want to call out that trust and transparency are pillars for HubSpot. I do get questions from partners and from customers around how we're using AI and the data that's being inputted into it. But I can assure you, the approach is very ethical, and we have some resources here for you guys to check out. Both our ethical approach to AI and then the actual models and systems behind our tools. So those will be linked there. I'm sure somebody will follow up with this deck afterwards, but if you're interested, you can check those out. Lastly, some additional resources for you guys. First, to stay up to date on all of the product changes, what's been recently launched. HubSpot.com/new is a really great resource for that. I like that it's broken up by month, like what's come out in April, for example, and then broken up by hub too. So you can sort by marketing hub, sales hub, etc., and just check to see what's come out. Maybe you have a couple of those hubs and you want to see what new tools you can leverage. That's a really great resource for that. And then we also take a very transparent approach to our product roadmap. And we have a dedicated resource for our AI product roadmap. So if you just Google 2024 AI roadmap, you can actually see what we've released and then what's coming down the pipeline. So that is all that I have. I believe Darren is up next for the really fun, exciting part of this webinar, but you guys can actually see the tool and get a taste for what's been launched here. So I'll hand it over to Darren, and thank you guys for being here.
Absolutely. And Darren, I'll let you jump in. Before you, let me just pick up on one thing Charlie said. Colby did drop in a link to that post by Dharmesh, so thanks for doing that. Also, a reminder, we will make this recording and the slides available to those that have registered, so not to worry if you miss something. And Colby will continue to post links throughout the webinar that could be useful, including more information on our user group. With that, let me formally connect you to the superstar AI guy at Evenbound. Darren, why don't you take it away?
Thanks, Phil. Let me grab the share screen and then we can hop into it.
Absolutely. I'll stop sharing.
Perfect. Hey, everybody. Excited to walk through some of HubSpot's AI tools here. Real quick, just want to introduce myself, give you a little background. Certainly might not paint myself as a superstar in AI. I think that would be a little bit of hubris for anyone to do that at this point in the game, but I definitely am very interested in this space, and I've been learning a lot about HubSpot's investment in AI tools and the AI space in general. My background is heavily in HubSpot. Currently, I'm a solution architect at Evenbound. We are a Diamond HubSpot partner. We focus on implementation, enablement, and serving you as a growth partner. So maximizing your investment in HubSpot My personal background: started my career in Boston in the startup space. I was there for the better part of 4 years, got to see them grow from a HubSpot marketing automation tool to the full service platform that they are now, powered by artificial intelligence. After that, I pivoted into the agency side. I've been in the agency side for about better part of 4 years now, and definitely been drinking the orange Kool-Aid as far as that goes. Quick disclaimer here, right? So we're going to be looking at AI tools. Have best practice with AI is having a human at the end of these tools we're going to be looking at are content generation tools. And the best practice is to have some human, usually someone on your content team, at the end of that production cycle, providing editorial oversight, making sure whatever we're putting out in the public meets the needs of the business. Don't just use these tools and push things live. The other call out I want to make is we're going to be demoing AI tools. I have backups in case any of these don't work on the fly. If anyone was trying to use ChatGPT this morning, it was down. So my fingers crossed. Hopefully everything runs smoothly. But with that said, let's take a look at what the content generations and tools in HubSpot look like, and more importantly, what we need to do to set ourselves up to start using them. So before we can even generate content in HubSpot, we'll need to come into the settings section of our portal and then navigate to the bottom left-hand side here. I realize my window is cut off in the view here. At the bottom left here, there's an AI assistance, which is currently being cut off by my share screen. But within here, we'll need to turn on both content prompts and customer analysis. So again, this is in settings under AI assistance. Once we've turned on content prompts, this is going to allow us to generate content across all of these assets called out here. The customer analysis is more in line with taking a look at your customer data and helping you generate conversations, responses, and actions based on that. If you want to take a look at the terms, these are beta tools. So there are beta terms, basically HubSpot standard beta terms. And then just a little aside, currently HubSpot's AI tools are powered by OpenAI. So you would be looking at OpenAI's usage policies here as well. Once we've set up the tools is when we can start to actually have some fun. So let's take a look at what generating content looks like in HubSpot. Now, I want to call out on these slides, I will call out what hubs these tools are currently available in. Content generation across the assets we're looking at is available for all hubs. So one of the first use cases we might want to use, one of my favorites, is to create an email that I could use for outreach to my prospects. And the way we would do that is by creating a template. So within HubSpot, we'll navigate to library and then templates. And at the top right, we can click new template and create one from scratch. Now, this should look familiar to most HubSpot users who've created templates in HubSpot before. You can give your template a name, subject, body, use personalization tokens. Those are all still here. But if you wanted to use generative AI to create an outreach email for you, you could click this button at the bottom right, answer a few of these questions to provide the prompts for the tool. I've got a few pre-built here. Select what tone you want your email to be in, and then we hit generate. And this is where the magic happens in the background. And you'll see it's created a template based on the services that I provide, HubSpot integration services targeted at a contact John Smith. If this is good to you, you can click insert content. And then from here, you can expand, add personalization tokens as you'd like into that template. So that's a pretty easy way to generate email templates using HubSpot generative AI. Again, I use some pretty simple inputs in that question and answer format. I would recommend being more verbose. The more input and the more context you can give to AI tools in general, the better outputs they are. So this was a speed run, but certainly take your time if you're going to use AI to generate those templates. The other thing I want to show is that you can use this same exact function if you're using the Gmail extension with HubSpot. You'll see the HubSpot toolset underneath the subject line. And on the right side here, you'll see write an email for me. And it's going to take you through the same process just within your Gmail window. So that's an email template and how we can generate those both within the template section of HubSpot and within your personal inbox. The next thing I want to show you is how we can create a blog outline directly in the tool using HubSpot's generative AI. So for this, we're going to navigate to content and then our blog, and we'll click create, and we'll create a blog post from scratch. Now that we've turned on the generative AI tools, I can hit / and select outline as the type of content I want to generate. And then I'll tell it what type of outline I want to generate. I'll use their example, a blog post on top B2B marketing automation, and I'll hit generate. And again, this is where the magic happens. Fingers crossed. Hopefully nothing breaks. But within a few seconds, HubSpot's using its models powered by OpenAI to help us generate an outline for a blog that has headings, sections all called out. I can then click insert. And then from here, I can pass this over to my content team to build this blog post out. Again, you'll want to take a look at this. This isn't going to be a perfect outline every time, but one of the best quotes I've heard with regards to generative AI is that humans are better at finishing things than they are at starting them, right? So if we can give someone a really nice outline, it's a lot easier for them to build off this than it is to just give them a title and say, go build me a blog from scratch. So pretty powerful way to use some of the generative AI tools in HubSpot to build an outline. You'll also notice that there are a few other ways that we can generate content. You can create paragraphs. You can help it create ideas. You can generate images directly in HubSpot, or you can use it to generate a conclusion for your blog post. Anywhere you can insert rich text and content, so this would be blogs, emails, landing pages, you can use that generative AI tool. So that's how we would generate a blog outline. The next thing I want to do is show you how we could generate an entire blog from scratch using HubSpot's generative a blog post button at the top right here, but there's now an orange, a lighter orange one with the AI that says generate a blog post. Now here's where I'm going to put in a blog post or idea. For this one, I'm going to use the importance of CRM in modern business. And then for my keyword, I'm going to use marketing automation. Again, pretty general example, but I want to show you what HubSpot does in the background once we give it a topic and some keywords to select. So again, it's firing this information off in the background. Fingers crossed this works. If it doesn't, I have a backup that shows an example, but luckily HubSpot magically worked. So here we've got a few options that HubSpot's generated for blog post titles. You'll see the first one is the one that I inputted, and you'll see on the right side it's giving us relative to keyword intent and monthly search volume. So this first column is provided by SEMrush. It's a monthly search volume around the keywords here. The second one is a difficulty to rank score. That is a score 0 to 100, how difficult that keyword is to rank for, 100 being the most difficult. And then lastly, we have keyword intent. You'll see there's 4 different intents: navigational, informational, commercial, and transactional. So depending on what you're trying to accomplish with your content, you can select the appropriate keyword uh, difficulty and intent that matches the need of your content. Once you've selected the title that you'd like, you can hit next. And from here, HubSpot's going to work its magic to generate a blog post outline. Again, fingers crossed, going to the background. Wow, we're fast today. This is awesome. So you'll see there's a few different options we have here once HubSpot's generated a blog post outline for us. Obviously, it's pulled that title from the previous page, but if we wanted to change it, we could change it here. We can give a description for the image that it's going to automatically generate with this post. If we don't want to generate an image, we can just deselect this. We can give a description for the blog post as well. You'll notice that it's given us 5 headers by default for our paragraphs. If we wanted to add more, we could. If we wanted to remove any, we can with this X on the side. And then if we wanted to add any specific talking points, we could say HubSpot email tools. And we've now added a talking point to one of our paragraphs. Once we're ready, we can hit the generate button at the bottom right. And again, HubSpot's going to work its magic to generate a blog post for us. We'll wait a few seconds. Hopefully this is as quick as it was last time. If not, we'll hop over to the finished product here. This is where I would be playing Jeopardy music if I had the technical chops to do so. Great. So we're going to wait for that to go in the background. But if we want to take a look at a blog post that had been generated using generative AI, this is what the end result looks for. This one was focused around why keyword research may limit creativity. So different topic, but you can see the outcome is sections with headers and content produced therein. If I wanted to take any content and edit it, I can click I've selected and I can have it rewritten, expand, shorten, or change the tone. So again, once you've generated the entire blog post, this is where I recommend inserting that human into the system, having them improve it for keyword optimization or adding any talking points or changing the tone of voice to match your brand and style. So that was a quick speed run of generating two content types. One was a sales template using the templates tool, both in HubSpot and in the your Gmail using the Chrome extension. We also looked at how we could generate a blog outline and a blog post from scratch using the generative AI tools. I want to call out that these are all available across the content tools. So when we activated them, you notice that landing pages, emails, other content types were available. So this is just an example, but you can use these across the board. Now that we've created some content, let's take a look at one of my favorite new features called Remix. And this does require a subscription to Content Hub Pro. So that is necessary to have. But once you have purchased or added Content Hub Pro to your subscription, you'll notice that within content, you'll have Remix as an available option. Once you select Remix, we can select Start Remixing. And the first thing it's going to ask us to do is select a piece of content we want to remix. And what remix means is it's HubSpot's fancy way of saying repurpose content. So back when I started off at HubSpot, one of the big brainy ideas we had was around pillar pages and 10x content types. But the question was, how the heck do we build that? And it could be, okay, well, let's remix an ebook. Let's take an ebook and unpack it and turn it into other content types, one of which is a pillar page. Well, with AI. So the first thing we would do is add content here by clicking this add content module, remix. I'll select that keyword research blog post we were just taking a look at, and then I'll add that content. Once I've added the content, I can click this plus sign and select what other content types I want to create from it. So for this one, I'm going to select email and social just because they work pretty quickly. It'll ask you to give the email, select a template, a business unit, networks for the social, some basic stuff that you need to set up those assets correctly. But once you've configured those, you can click generate. And this is where HubSpot's going to do its magic. It's going to generate an email and a social post based off of the content from this blog post. So you see the social post is pretty quick to generate because it's a slightly shorter form piece of content. But if I click into it, you'll see we've got emojis. If you don't like in the app, edit and post to social in about but once that's done, you'll also be able to use that asset across the portal. So really cool feature in HubSpot, the remix tool, and boom, you see we've got our email ready to go. So now that we've seen some of the generative AI tools in HubSpot, I want to show you another AI feature that lives in workflows. And I believe somebody already called this out as something they checked out in the chat early on. But it's one of my favorite features, and it lives in the workflows tool. So I have a workflow I'd started on here. It's just a basic MQL workflow where any contact becomes an MQL. I want to send them an email. But I also wanted to do something. I need to assign an owner from my team, and I wasn't sure how to do it. I'm a new HubSpot user. So if I click this plus sign, you'll notice here at the top of actions, there's now this new Ask AI feature. And what I wanted to do was, rotate this contact owner. And I'm just not sure how to do it. So I'm going to be pretty brief, even though I should be more verbose, and say, hey, I want to rotate the contact owner. And then I'm going to hit generate. And you'll see HubSpot has added the appropriate action for me to rotate the record between contact owners. If I select keep actions, the last step is to figure out who I want to rotate that between. For today, I'll use my teammates, Zach and Hunter. Shout out the HubSpot team at Evenbound. And there you go. So you have the ability to generate actions using natural language prompts directly from the workflows tool. Pretty cool stuff if you ask me. And then for my last demo here, let's talk about generating audio content in HubSpot. So there's two different places we can generate content. One is in blogs. We can have HubSpot create a narration of our blog posts automatically using AI. Now, before we can do this, there is one step we need to take, and that's adding the module to your template. I'm going to post that link in the chat here. We'll also include this with the assets afterwards. But once you've added this snippet to your template, recommend you work with a developer on your team to do that. You'll then be able to hop into any blog posts that you've created. So we'll go back to our keyword research example here. Hop into the settings. And on the left-hand side, you'll see you have post narration. Clicking this generate button is going to bring open a module where it will show the transcript, which is our blog post. If we wanted to add any additional content, maybe before or after, we can add that here. And then there's a few different voices that we can select from. Alloy is the default one.
Of the selected voice reading aloud. Does it suit your content?
And then we've also got my favorite, Fable, with the British accent.
This is a sample of the selected voice reading aloud. Does it suit your content?
Once you've selected the voice that you'd like, you can click generate at the bottom right here, and HubSpot's going to go ahead and start to generate that content for you. Now, this takes a while to generate, so I'm going to stop this one for us, just so we don't spin the tires too much there. But that's how you can generate a blog narration automatically in HubSpot using AI. And then once you've generated it, you'll be able to add that narration module anywhere you'd like within the blog post by selecting the module and then adding the narration. The last tool that HubSpot allows us to use to generate audio content does require a Content Hub Professional, and it is in beta, but it's the podcasts tool. So if you click into, you'll be able to create an episode at the top right here. If you've already got your podcast created, great, we can upload it here. If you don't have your podcast created, say you've got transcript or a blog post that you want to create a podcast from, you can use HubSpot's AI tools, select the voice that you want, paste your text in, and then select generate full audio. And with a few seconds or minutes, depending on the length of your narration, HubSpot will generate it for you.
For watching my live demo of HubSpot's AI tools. Have a wonderful day.
So that was a speed round of some of the HubSpot generative AI tools. I realize I went very quickly there. Again, to Phil's earlier point, this is all being recorded. We'll be around for Q&A at the end, but hopefully this was enough to make you confident to get started using the tools and testing them out. Thanks so much. I'll pass it back to Phil.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Darren. Like he said, we will make the recording and slides available, and we will invite questions. We've already gotten one or two, so that's great. We'll address those. Let's shift gears from what Darren was talking about and talk about AI automation with respect to sales. And that we're going to talk about Sales Hub. We're going to talk about quoting, pricing, closing. And for that, Jagadish Bandole. Jagadish, why don't you take it away?
Thank you, Phil. Let me grab the screen share. Great. Excellent. So I want to continue from where Darren left off. We talked a lot about how we can use AI, generative AI specifically in prospecting, generating content, email, blogs, all of that, right? That's great. Sort of a lot of the top of the funnel activities. But as you get deeper into the sales cycle, we start to transition to things around how we can help sales reps in the middle of the funnel, end of the funnel activities, right? And there is a place for AI there as well. Many of those use cases need to be a little bit more thoughtful in terms of specific areas. I would like to say there are a couple of specific use cases I've heard from many customers we've spoken to. And before I kind of get to that, just a quick intro to who we are. Mobileforce, by the way, is an ISP partner of HubSpot. We are on the app marketplace. We are one of the many app partners. We augment and extend everything that HubSpot is doing, not just around AI and automation, but also other areas, and bring some new innovations to the marketplace, specifically focused around Sales Hub and Service Hub. So sort of taking the baton and moving it forward from marketing into sales and service. That's our focus area. Specifically, we are all about all things CPQ, which stands for configure, price, and quote. So everything to help salespeople take those deals in their sales CRM and get them closed, right? So that's our focus. That's what we do. We are also the only CPQ partner of HubSpot. That's also an official HubSpot solutions partner. So we work very closely with folks like Evenbound and others to bring the entire solution together. So with that, I want to talk a little bit about sort of taking this AI into the world of sales and service, right? So continuing from that, those two use cases that I was talking about, when we talk to customers, first area where AI can help salespeople is, salespeople are busy, they're running around from customer to customer, activity to activity. So anything you could do to sort of help speed up their activities in the middle of the funnel, such as maybe asking the CRM about what product, whether this is an existing customer or a new customer. If it's an existing customer, what have they bought before? If they're a new customer, what kinds of things they could potentially sell to them. These are all the kinds of things that typically go around in their minds, and these are things that instead of making them go through a lot of clicks to go and find it, an AI assistant can actually help there, save the time. So one is around sort of this co-pilot functionality, where taking that Ask HubSpot concept that Darren demonstrated there to the next step, logical next step. The other area is more around traditional machine learning, which is if you have a lot of customers and you have a large install base and you have done a lot of transaction, obviously the system can learn from that. So as you go into the world of upselling, cross-selling, renewals, amendments, and other kinds of things, there are things that the system can do because it can learn from all of the activity that you already performed in the past in the system, and it can learn from there. So that's more of a classic example is a product recommendation engine that can recommend upsells and cross-sells. So those are broadly the two areas of AI that are tangible, logical, and practical, that can be solved and can add a lot of value. And we are focused a lot on that. So stay tuned for a lot of innovations that we are bringing to market. I want to focus on one of those for this particular demonstration here, and I'll go through that with the co-pilot functionality, a quick demonstration of how we can potentially use that in the context of HubSpot and coding. Before I go into that, a lot of these tools are available on HubSpot Marketplace. These are available as add-ons. We ourselves are also available as an add-on. You can go and look for Mobileforce CPQ and you'll find that. There are other tools as well that provide many of these kinds of innovations that can take the HubSpot built-in AI to the next logical step. So I want to focus a little bit today on one key example, leveraging AI for quote to close, which means helping a salesperson who's now prospected, qualified, and created a deal, and they're working a deal in their CRM. And how do you now go to the next step, helping them construct quotes, easily share proposals, get e-signatures, and get the deal closed, right? And this is, again, the focus is, as Darren mentioned, you always want to have the human at the end of it, which is going back to stressing his quote about, humans are good at finishing things. Whole idea is help them get started very quickly with draft quotes that they can review and finish. That's the whole idea here. So with that, I want to kind of walk you through a process here, a session. And let me just take this video and kind of play that. And so what we are seeing here is a session with what we call as an Ask CPQ assistant. Same concept as a ChatSpot, taking that to the next logical step. This is an add-on that we would provide, and it's inherently connected to HubSpot, completely two-way integrated with single sign-on and the session. You could launch this within HubSpot from a deal page. That's how that will be set up. So I skipped all those parts. I'm just going to focus a little bit more on the interaction here. In the interest of time. And so what you're seeing here is a salesperson who is working on a particular, who's already logged into HubSpot, launches this Ask CPQ assistant session. It's a little bit harder to read here, but this person works for a company called NAPCOM Security. He's one of the sales reps, and he is starting a chat session with this Ask CPQ. So in this case, what I would like to start with is to ask the system, which also connected to the CRM itself, as to, what are my which one of my customers are up for renewal in my upcoming quarter. So as you can see here, as I ask that, this is a fairly simple question. It goes and queries, and it's more of a query question, right? It goes there, queries it, and it says, hey, these are your upcoming renewals. These are the customers, and I would like to pick one. And I would like to pick one of those. I want to work on this particular deal of renewal, Holden Robotics, and sure enough, the assistant would go pick that up and pull all of that information. Now, in this case, this is a combination of information that is there in the CRM and the CPQ system. This is already an existing customer. I've already closed the deal, the original contract. So it gives me all the information about the contract and all the product line items that they've got, right? So now they're up for renewal. I want to renew them, but I want to make some changes, right? So I tell the assistant, look, they want to renew this, but they want to reorder everything except for one of the products that they want to take out. So this is where the whole generative AI aspect starts to kick in. Now the system basically goes, takes that information, pulls the latest pricing, pulls the latest configuration. It automatically discovers that this particular salesperson was already pre-approved for a particular level of discount for this particular customer, applies all of that stuff, and generates a quote with exactly the things that the salesperson asked for. Now, from there on, I can start to look at it and sort of say, okay, I would like to now see if some of these products are available. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Now, not only our system can integrate with CRM, a lot of times you want to integrate with other back office systems, such as an ERP or an inventory management system or something like that, where you would then like to check, let's say, whether these products are even available. So in this case, I want to check whether some of these products that I want to renew are available, so that my renewal quote is considered complete and fulfillable. So you can see here that the system goes and checks it through real-time integration, connects to the ERP system, checks the stock availability, and says, hey, one of these line items, it looks like it's out of stock. If you want to look at a 30-day inventory availability. However, there is, this is the intelligence that kicks in, where it says, hey, there is a substitute product that's equivalent. If you would like to substitute this, just let me know, and I can go ahead and regenerate the quote based on that. And let's say if I say, okay, I would like to do that, and I would like to replace this camera weather shield that's no longer available in stock with this all-weather shield, then the system would then go and it would regenerate the quote, updated with applying the same level of discount to that new product. Now, I may actually go and change certain discounts as well. So I can say, okay, well, I'm trying to get this renewal done, and I need to bump up the discount, so I want to bump up the discount to 30%. Well, great, it can do that. But however, it ran into a rule which says there's a couple of products out there that have a maximum discount of 25%. If you want, it can say, I can actually go ahead and generate an approval workflow and then go out and send an approval for getting that higher level of discount approved. So that kicks off an approval workflow and sends it out to the requisite approvers. As soon as that is done, now, of course, that happens in the back. The system can then go ahead and generate a quote in a more official document, which could be a PDF, which could be an e-signature document like a DocuSign or an Adobe EcoSign or something like that. Whatever the system that the sales rep is using here, this company NAVCOM Security is using, in this case, looks like they're using DocuSign. It would then basically take that generated quote and put that in a specific company specific template and create a DocuSign envelope and have that ready to go. So that's in the preferred format. Now, as that happens, the sales rep can wait for the approvals to happen. The approvals will go through, and the approvals happen asynchronously. And once that's all done, you can even push it to, let's say, a contract lifecycle management product, or you can push it back to the CRM, whatever they use. In this case, this is just an example where there is already also an integration with a CLM, and then it will push this to a contract lifecycle management product with redlining enabled. And so once it gets sent out, it can then store it into a CLM environment as well. So what this is illustrating here is the middle to the bottom of the funnel activity, where you're speeding through a process which could typically take a lot more clicks, potentially a lot more time as the person goes through each of those steps. And in this case, an assistant, a co-pilot, would basically make it simpler for a sales rep to go through all of those steps and handle all of those approvals and integrations and all of those things on behalf of the sales rep automatically, and make sure that whatever code that comes out of the system is fast, is accurate, and it's compliant. So that's the quick walkthrough there. There are a lot of moving parts, as you can see there. I wanted to show that through a video so that it's concise. In reality, as you go through these different systems, there are some integrations. It might take a lot more minutes as you go through it, but the whole idea there is to accelerate it from something that might take several hours to days to a matter of minutes, and that's the idea. So that's what I had. I would love to open up any questions.
Great.
So back to you.
That is fantastic. Thanks, Jagadish. And I'll go back to sharing my screen. So that was Ask CPQ, and that was Mobileforce. Previously, we heard from Evenbound, and before that, we heard from Charlie at HubSpot. Let's invite everyone back in. As I share my screen, let me also invite Colby in. Colby, why don't we share with the team any more details about the HubSpot user group so they can follow us for additional events as we move forward. And Colby, anything you wanted to say before we started to take questions?
Yeah, just in the chat, I dropped the link to our HubSpot user group page. You can become a member, and then you'll be updated whenever we have new events, hoping to have one this summer, potentially one come September. I don't know if there's a big, HubSpot event around that time that you all are familiar with, but that's the plan. And yeah, if you have any direct questions, we'll have some follow-up links where you can email us and just stay in the loop that way as well. So thanks, Phil.
Absolutely. And most of you, I believe, had to join the user group in order to access this event. But if you know of any colleagues or coworkers or friends that might be interested in HubSpot and AI, feel free to share that link, and we'd welcome them as part of the user group. So first question, we did get a question from Robin that I believe has been answered in the chat. So thanks, Robin. The next question, Darren, let's start with you. Was what are the most common AI and automation questions you're getting from HubSpot customers? What are the first things that they're asking out of all the menu of items that you reviewed? What are you hearing the most?
I'd say the first one, which is like kind of surprising, but it's like, are these really free? Because a lot of the content generation tools are available across all hubs, even the free hubs. So I think that's like one of the questions. A lot of people assume like you need some really high level of paid version of HubSpot to use anything AI, but there's a lot of tools you can start using today if you've got any version of HubSpot. So that's kind of the first like, oh, is this true? But the other kind of question I hear a lot is like, how do we get started? Like, how do we start using AI? And the way I answer that question, typically depends on who's asking it. But if it's a company that has any sort of team that sort of owns their marketing automation tools, I recommend assigning a point person to be kind of the champion of AI tools, but not leaving them alone. Maybe aligning a few other team members potentially across, verticals, maybe someone from sales, someone from the customer team, to, have regular discussions about what a potential initial use case would be. Thinking through the lens of high impact, low effort, and low risk to your customer, right? You don't want to start implementing AI tools in the system that could have drastic outcomes for your customers, but lightweight, easy ways to start generating content that could save you time, and really shorten the time to value for your team members is where I recommend starting, and having a feedback loop created. So assign a champion, surround them with a few other individuals who aren't the same type of person, and then create some feedback loop, so it's not just that team in an echo chamber, but there's some other involvement across teams to make sure the tools are being adopted. And then the more people you can get using the tools in that safe way, the more ideas and creative ways you'll think of internally to use them.
Great.
But yeah, sorry for the soapbox, but that's kind of the main one, is how do I get started? And there's a few different ways.
That's very helpful. And I want to go to Jagadish to talk about the sales aspect of that. But before I do, Charlie, did you want to just chime in on these sorts of general AI questions that you're getting and what's included and what's not? Did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think Darren nailed it. I get questions around just like best practices, right? Like, how do I use these tools? What are they intended for? And I think that's a great question. I mean, certainly we don't recommend, at HubSpot, to use like the content generation tools to be the end all be all for your blogs and your landing pages. Nor do we say you should fully trust, AI to write all of your sales emails without review. You want to obviously make sure you're doing some quality checks there. And then from an SEO perspective, like real authentic human written content is still being prioritized. So I'd say just using it as a starting point, as opposed to the finished product, is the recommendation there. And then I'm also getting some questions around the models behind our tools. I know that there were some issues with ChatGPT a while ago with companies putting in sensitive data, and then that, because it's a learning model, that data and information being used for future answers, which from my understanding has been resolved with ChatGPT. But those are the kinds of things within our ethical practices that we're considering. And I get a lot of questions around that. So again, there's some resources linked in this deck for you to check out.
Absolutely. And again, we will make the deck and video available. And Jagadish, from the sales side, or the quote to closing aspects, what are the most common AI and automation questions you're getting from your customers?
Yeah, I think one goes back to the other use case I mentioned. One area where you can improve sales productivity is ramp up time, right? You always have new people joining sales teams, and there's always sales training, sales enablement that's involved. And so there are ways where AI can help them, either through the co-pilot concept and also through the product recommendation, where it can help newer salespeople get very quickly acclimated and be productive in generating proposals and quotes and whatnot without a long training period, right? So that's one area where you have a faster ramp. And then the other aspect of it, consideration that I want to point out as well, is how accurate these models are, right? I mean, you got to keep in mind that a lot of these models are foundational models. If you use ChatGPT, OpenAI, etc., these are foundational models. There are many of them that are available. In the enterprise space, as you get deeper and deeper into the sales cycle and you want to get into more sophisticated use cases, you have to let the model use your data, which is private to you, right? So there is an aspect of learning augmentation that's involved, where we need to either fine tune or use other architectures like RAG architectures. It's called retrieval augmented generative AI. So RAG architectures, as they say, where you could basically take these models and fine tune it or create custom models and deploy it so that only your organization can use it, nobody else. And that's the right way to go about doing it. And if you do it the right way, you get better results, you get better outcomes, because it knows it's learned your data, your customer profiles, and so on and so forth. So it's not a magic that you can wave a wand and get accurate and fantastic responses on day one. You certainly have use cases which are sort of low-hanging fruits where you could generate content which are more generalized that you can adapt. But as you get deeper and more sophisticated, you'll probably need to take some of the data and then fine-tune it and retrain it. So it's really a collaborative exercise. What I mean
that
to
makes sense.
say is it's not an out-of-the-box product feature. The feature sets may be out of the box, but the models need to be augmented.
Absolutely, that makes sense. And in fact, it's a good segue to our next and last question. We do want to make sure we're wrapping up on time. Before I jump in, I want to point out that you can follow up with any of the companies you've seen here. Here's their information as emails, as well as website. And you can follow all three companies on social media. So the last question, I'll go to Darren first, then Jagadish, which is integration. Because as we've seen, when we're using AI and automation, with the true data source and with other aspects of the solution, it can leave us shorthanded. Darren, what are you seeing and doing with your customers and clients in terms of making sure they've got all their HubSpot tools fully integrated with what they need?
Yeah, great question. I think it starts with sort of most of the customers I work with are using HubSpot as their single source of truth, right? And I don't think anyone here could raise their hand and say their CRM data is perfectly clean. I think it's nice to strive for, but that's kind of the starting point, right? Is leveraging some of HubSpot's tools to identify duplicates or potential, data issues that we have in our foundational data set, and making sure that we're starting with clean data and whatever that key system is. And then if there are other tools that are integrated, if it's through a native integration, it's making sure that we're configuring those integrations to pass information correctly according to that source of truth. So the source of truth is passing information out, but we're not getting information passed to change that system unless we're absolutely certain about it. And then I think it's just like back to like any system or any team, really, like garbage in, garbage out. So if we're giving the tools really low effort prompts, like some of the ones I gave during my demo, the outputs probably aren't going to be up to scruff. But if you can give these AI tools really great foundational data and then layer in really, really great prompts with that, tool agnostic, that's when you get the most value from AI.
That's very compelling. And Jagadish, from your perspective, when you're focused on sales-oriented use cases, you showed some examples that involved integration with quoting, with the CRM, with the ERP, with inventory. How does Mobileforce and you work with customers to ensure seamless integration, even for things that are maybe new to the company over time?
Yeah, I think it's key. I mean, CRM is your system of record, right? So it's the hub, so to speak, right? So you want to make sure that you pull the right kind of data and have the right integration links that are built in place, and they can work in real time, right? As you can see, it's all API driven. The whole thing is API driven. Even when you are using ChatGPT APIs, right, or other APIs. So whether it's for AI purpose or whether it's for pulling data in, it's all API driven. So you want to make sure that those links are seamless, well architected, and are readily available. So you get outcomes that you have. If you're able to get multiple pieces of data and correlate it better, you truly do have 1 + 1 = 3 scenario, right? Getting different pieces of information as silos has less value. If you're able to correlate it and provide a more meaningful response, the AI can be so much more intelligent. So integration is key. So when we talk to customers, we ask them about sources of data and the kinds of queries that the end users as salespeople have, and you sort of work backwards from the user-centric approach, right? You sort of say, in order to answer this question for the sales rep, what do we need to do from a systems perspective and data perspective? Where does it need to come? Where does it need to go? What does it need to be? What needs to be learned? So that's the approach we take.
Absolutely. That's a perfect way to sort of wrap things up. I want to acknowledge everyone that's joined. We had a great turnout. Thank you. And I want to thank each of our presenters. So thank you very much, Charlie, Darren, and Jagadish for joining us. We look forward to seeing you at future events. I also want to thank Colby for helping me coordinate this. It's been great, and we look forward to seeing you at future events coming up. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.